These images have come to define Bengaluru's floods because even the city's most privileged citizens haven't been spared from the incessant rains. Water entered homes, basements were flooded, and residents had to be evacuated by tractors and boats. Many of these luxury villas and apartments were in Bellandur, Yemalur, Sarjapur, Vartur and other nearby areas. So why did these neighborhoods flood? What makes the eastern part of Bengaluru more prone to flooding? And what are the possible solutions? Let me explain. The floods in Bengaluru have made national and even international headlines this past week. But many Bengalurians have been quick to point out that not all of Bengaluru is underwater. Two zones, the east and Mahadevapura, have been especially hard hit. I spoke to experts and citizen activists to understand why areas like Bellandur and Yemalur in particular flooded and remain vulnerable. The first reason is the terrain. Now, Bengaluru, as you know, is located 3,000 feet above sea level. Much of the older or central parts of Bengaluru are located on a ridge. So, the water drains away in three directions along these three valleys. So, as you go further and further away from the central parts of the city, the terrain flattens out. This means that the water can't go any further and accumulates. Nagesh Aris, an activist and a resident of Bellandur, explained to me that from Indranagar and Koramangala onwards, the KC Valley bottoms out, which is why areas like Yemalur and Bellandur, which are flatter in terrain, are more prone to flooding. But this is just one part of the problem. Areas like Bellandur and Yemalur were wetlands, which are basically nature's sponge absorbing much of the rainwater. But in the last 20 years or so, a big part of these wetlands have been turned into residential apartments, gated communities and tech parks, which is why when it rains, the water naturally gravitates to these areas. The second problem is infrastructure. Vishwanath S., a Bengaluru-based water expert, told me that there is a serious underinvestment in the sewerage, stormwater and solid waste management network in these areas. Firstly, the length of drains in the KC Valley have disappeared over the years. According to a 2021 CAG report, the KC Valley drain network went from 113 kilometers in the 1900s to just over 62 kilometers in 2016-2017. Many of these drains were covered or encroached upon. Others were remodeled to allow developments. Take a look at these images from Bellandur from 2012 to 2020, which show how the drains were realigned to make way for various developments. Secondly, because of rampant urbanization, the amount of runoff water has increased, and the existing drainage capacity is simply not enough to handle this. Sonali Singh, a citizen change maker, said that one of the reasons that the outer ring road at EcoSpace near Bellandur flooded is because the clogged stormwater drain was simply not able to handle the volume of water coming in from lakes upstream. The problem magnifies when you add sewage to this. Sonali said that one of the reasons that the Bellandur lake overflowed is because it is connected to upstream lakes like Agara and Madiwala, which were discharging large amounts of sewage. This caused the Bellandur lake to choke and overflow. This brings me to the third problem, and that is managing Bengaluru's lakes. The city has a cascading drainage system with one lake connected to the other. But as Nagesh Aras explained, none of Bengaluru's lakes have sluice gates to control the flow of water. Ideally, lakes should be emptied of excess water before the monsoons so that they don't overflow when it rains incessantly. In addition to installing sluice gates, Nagesh said that the lakes should be desilted so that water can be stored safely. Bellandur and Vartur lakes, for example, were only partially desilted. The fourth issue is that the existing road network has not been designed properly. Both Vishwanath and Nagesh said that several roads in Bellandur act like dams. Because they are built across the valley, they serve as barriers against the natural flow of water. The flooding at the outer ring road proved just that. There is no culvert at the outer ring road to drain the water. On the other side, the stormwater drains have been encroached. The result, days of waterlogging. The blame for the flooding in these areas goes to successive governments, civic bodies, revenue officials and engineers. But what really is the solution to the flooding in Bengaluru's eastern neighborhoods? These experts say that one solution is to build or widen drains after carrying out a survey which takes into account the terrain and calculates just how much water will accumulate in these areas. The second solution is to invest heavily in Bengaluru's sewage network, ensuring that all of the waste is treated at sewage treatment plants before being released into the lakes. The third solution is what you can do at an individual level, and that is rainwater harvesting. This would go a long way in not only mitigating floods, but would also help to recharge the groundwater table and come in handy during the summer months. But it's the long-term solution that the government and Bengaluru's officials must implement, and that is ensuring that the city's remaining lakes, wetlands and stormwater drains are not encroached upon or built over. The Newsminute has been bringing you ground reports of the floods from Bengaluru and Ramnagara over the past week. Remember, all of this takes time, effort and resources. So if you value the journalism that we've been doing here at the Newsminute, do become a member and subscribe to our YouTube channels. And as always, if you like this video, hit the like button and share this video with your friends.